How's it going, everybody? This is Ryan, and Matt's about to join me here too. We are back with our draft to the future Shadow Team update. So we've been paying attention to our team so far and looking at what they're doing, how the guys are performing, and either getting really happy or really sad. So we're gonna get ready to talk about that. Um, but to start out, Matt, what do we want to talk about?
To start things off, we wanted to briefly kind of talk about what we've been doing so far, and we're very pleased with what we've been doing and where we've been going. And the thing I'm most proud of so far was our interview and our story on Gideon Lamprin. We're very much hoping to continue that, and we can't thank Gideon enough for being willing to give us his time. And we don't necessarily know how often we're going to get that chance, but that's obviously we like it because we produced it, but we think it's a great story. We think he is a great story and a great person. And then we've been keeping you up to date on the players we featured in the summer scouting. And we've done a couple live broadcasts. Those ones were focusing more on college. This is our first one where we are looking at how our shadow team is performing thus far. So that's kind of where we've been at. We hope to do some more things. We already got some really exciting things coming up too.
Yeah. So if you, like Matt said, if you didn't see our interview with Gideon, definitely go take that look. We have a cut up version where we turned it into a story, but then we have the full unedited version as well. And he's making us look smart because he continues to perform really well, which is great as well. So awesome. So what we're gonna do now is we are going to do a little NFL recap and our three like questions or storylines that we're looking at so far throughout the NFL season before we actually get into our actual teams. So for me, I think the biggest thing that I'm interested in is, are both the Chiefs and Ravens bad? Um, because they're both 1-2 right now, and they happen to face each other next week, and then the Ravens do not have an easy schedule after that. So I don't think this is going to happen, but there's a real world where one of those teams could be like 1-5, which would be just absurd, considering the expectations they have. So I think that's probably one of the big things that, I'm thinking of.
So my first storyline is who's going to survive. We got Joe Burrow out for the season, Nick Bosa out for the season, Mike. Help me out, my brain's dead. Wide receiver for Tampa Bay.
Mike Evans.
Mike Evans, he's out for a little while. CeeDee Lamb's out for a little while. There are a lot of high profile injuries that are starting to stack up, and it's a concern. And I just don't know literally who's going to make it through health wise, and I hope that the trend doesn't continue. But that's the storyline that's really kind of got me concerned.
Yeah, I think the next one for me is it's Dart season. Jackson Dart is going to be starting. I was pretty high on him going into this year and through the draft process. So he's about to take over, and he's going to get his chance because the Giants' deep star-studded defense has honestly not played that well. And you could argue that maybe that's because of the offense underperforming as well. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there, but I'm really excited to see him start slinging it around.
So my number 2 storyline is this: whatever you think you know, nobody knows. You head into week 3, and you're like, Packers best team in football, Browns are cheeks. Every week you think you got something figured out, that week happens, you're like, well, I was wrong about that. So that is my headline for this one, and it has me kind of thinking like, are the Colts real? I love the story so far. Are they real? I'm a Niners fan. How are they 3-0? And how long is that? How long is that? It kind of like, I love the Niners. I want them to keep playing well, but I'm like, this kind of feels like a house of cards, and I want it to keep going, but I'm just not really sure how it's happening. And then like, are the Cowboys that bad? So fans of overreaction takes, it's free reign. Say whatever you want, because nobody knows what's going on this.
I think my last one is, will the NFL actually officiate the tush push? I don't know if you've been watching, but there's been tons of videos where the tush push, there's clearly false starts by the offensive line, which is definitely allowing them to get in and have a head start on those defenders. So it makes it really even hard, an already hard thing to stop, even harder to stop. And so it'll be interesting to see, I think, if the league actually starts to say anything or do anything about that.
Yep. And my last take is week 3 and the seats are already hot. We got Mike McDaniel. We got the coach over at Tennessee. I got the coach over at Cincinnati. Now Ryan and I we're anti-firing coaches in season. And in this case, I'll speak for me and see if Ryan agrees, but especially if you have a young quarterback, like you can fire McDaniel if you want, but unless you have an owner who's just okay with literally throwing away $54 million, you're stuck with Tua for like 2 more years. And the only guy who believed in him was McDaniel. Maybe reinvest in line, but like, and the Tennessee coach, like, he just handpicked his quarterback, and everyone, like, here's the thing that frustrates me. All the betting people, everybody in the world knew the Titans would be bad. Why are we angry at the coach for the team that we knew would be bad being bad? That doesn't make sense to me. Yeah. I can understand it if he took over a team and they had Super Bowl aspirations and they haven't won a game yet. But it's not like anyone's like, yeah, this is our year for Tennessee. You knew like, you got a building block, you got your foundational piece, and you have to build around him. Why are we talking about firing a coach because he's underperforming on a team no one expected to perform? How does that make sense?
Yeah, and it's one of those things. It's tough to fire a coach right after getting his quarterback and having that quarterback essentially have a second rookie season. All the fans are already like calling for Callahan to be fired. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. But the reason the Browns were so bad for so long was because it was every 2 years they were firing a coach. I think you kind of need to give the guy, like, my rule is 3 years typically, and I think that resets if you get a new quarterback. So I would like to see at least Callahan get another year, and hopefully build the team a little bit better.
And even then, like, evaluate. There are people who really don't know if the Titans win any games this year. Yeah. And okay, but that's your baseline. So then, and all the talking heads are like, well, there's no talent. So, okay, let's say you win 0 games. I still wouldn't fire Callahan, because you'd only be hurting the quarterback you drafted to save your franchise. So then you look at the next season, and where's the growth? How much growth is it? And then what does it look like on the field? Everyone's mad at Callahan. Like, Callahan can't catch the ball for Calvin Ridley. Like, yeah. What do you want him to do? Exactly. And I'm sorry, if this gets to, like, I watched that first game, and everyone gets, the yips now and then, but like, we're talking about firing a coach. The play was open, the throw was made, the quarterback you're trying to develop made the right read in the right time, hit the guy in the hands, and what? Like, how is that Callahan's fault? And I'm not even like a Callahan guy. I'm just, anytime I hear people shouting for someone's job, like Russell Wilson getting benched, makes complete sense. That guy lost his job. But I'm always looking at it like, if he's the problem, then you should be able to see how he's the problem. So if no one's schemed open, if plays are going wrong, what was the play like? Kurt Warner argued about it for like 1,000 years. It was an interception. Oh, it was a Miami game. And Kurt Warner's like, no, this is just a bad play call. It was the Miami Bills when he got picked off on a night game.
Oh, yeah.
One group of people's like, no, like Tua can't make that throw. And Warner, he keeps trying to tell people like, okay, look, you can say that if you want, but this play was dead when they yelled hike. Like, this was a bad play design because there's a problem standing right there and nobody did anything to make this guy like not act on the ball, which might have considered the enemy. And first off, every player is like, oh yeah, no, I watched this on film. I was prepared. No one can be like, yeah, no, I don't know how that happened. It's not like how that's going to work. But that indicates a coaching problem when the play was run and the defense knew what it was and there wasn't anything schematically to account for it, then yeah, you can blame the coaching. Oh, well, you got to hit the flat. And I'm like, well, okay, but shouldn't you say that in a film room and not in a media room? Like, I love McDaniel. I think the world of him. Again, I don't think you should fire him. If you're stuck with Tua, you're stuck with McDaniel. And if you want to clean house after that, well, then wait until you're not paying a guy $50-something million a year.
Yeah. All right. So that's a little talk on the NFL. Now we're going to get into our actual shadow teams and how those are doing. So I'm going to pull up Matt's here and let him talk about that. And I'll give my input here a little bit as well.
All right. So context. I went through and looked at every draft for every team for the last 5 years. And what I learned is on average, in an average draft, you're going to get about 3 starters out of that draft. That's like the league average. So you got better teams because there was a discussion on Twitter or X. Yes, better teams do more in the draft. That is not an argument. But the league average is 3 starters per draft. So we've had the equivalent of 4 drafts. I should have 12 starters, and I have 4. That's unsat. And before we were about to do this episode, Ryan was like, yeah, what are you going to do? I'm like, well, I'm going to fire myself on the air because I suck. And then I started looking into the data and looking into some of the other things. So instead of firing myself, I took myself into my office and I said, hey, man, we're not letting you go, but things got to get better. We got to start looking at that consensus grade, because what I'm proud of is these 11 contributors who are on the cusp of getting starter snaps. Lathan Ransom is if he's not like officially the starter, he's kind of getting into the game. We were talking about injuries. Wide receiver for Miami got hurt. No, not Miami. The Buccaneers got hurt, and now Tez Johnson is getting more reps. So are these guys the interior line for Buffalo? And I thought highly of TJ Sanders, but that light has to switch because he's not going to have a lot of these shots continued. But it's encouraging to see guys like in position when Wyatt Milam gets healthy. Is he going to get a shot? Because he was doing great in the preseason. So I'm not off the hot seat, but I'm not fired yet. And we've already been kind of open with when we first started last year and this year, we drafted who we love because they're going to get on the field and prove it. And no, they're not. When these teams draft whoever they want to draft, I'm of the opinion, and if you're a league guy or an actual player, I don't care how good you are. If I drafted you in round 1, I'm playing you no matter how bad you are because I drafted you in round 1. And even if this guy's blowing people up in practice, I'm like, no, but I put him on the field, I look like an idiot. So I don't know why that's the thing, or maybe they're just not performing. So I'm gonna have to trust a little bit more, and kind of align guys I really like with where they're expected to go, and kind of take it from there, which makes it hard if I'm not really loving any of the guys in that range.
Yeah, I think that for anyone watching, like I did a little study to just show how close the last 5 drafts consensus big board was to where players were actually drafted. And for the most part, the first 3 rounds specifically are pretty close. They're typically within a round of where the consensus falls. So if that's the case, that means that you need to stick close to that. So like if I have a guy that is number, you know, is number like 10 for me, but the consensus has him at 90, I probably shouldn't take him in the first round. I can probably take him at the beginning of the third round. Um, that way I have more value to my team. They're more likely to get the play time that they they're more likely to, fall in where they're going to play instead of, me taking a UDFA in round 3.
So just to kind of wrap up my team, I think my star is Joe Alt. And I took him my number 1 pick overall, not literally number 1, but I took him as my first pick because I knew like, okay, I got him. That's settled. I'm good to go. And that's worked out. And I have other starters, but they're not really shining. They're not, maybe they're not playing like terribly, but they're not shining. And then, in the shooting our own horn category, Ryan and I were high on, I'm sure he'll talk about his tight end, but Gunnar Helm is just slowly kind of building on success and developing. So I got Alts, I got Kamari Lassiter, Malik Washington's getting snaps. He's already a great kick returner. Sooner or later, the Raiders are going to stop like messing around with JPJ, but he's had a bad game, but other than that, he's playing well, especially when he's in his own position. There are a lot of people who want to call Ashton Jeanty a bust, and I'm like, let's play a season. Travis Henry did not have his first 100-yard game until his second season, and now he's going to the Hall of Fame. He might drop the trophy on the way in, but he's still going. So jury's out. So I got Alt and Lassiter settle. They're guys. JPJ solid. Malik Washington solid. Jeanty starter. And then I got Gunnar Helm rising. Tess Johnson having an opportunity. Uman Yellen, DJ Sanders, Leonard Taylor, all getting shots. And Lathan Ransom is doing the most with his opportunities. And those are kind of all my picks. I got somewhere in the, I got like 50. I have a full 53. Is 53? 50.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a full roster, and those are my contributors, slash starters and my stars. And then I got Fadil Biggs, he's on the field. He's getting snaps. So, I'm hopeful every snap is an opportunity, and those are the guys who are at least getting those opportunities.
Who's the guy that you're most surprised or excited by so far this year on your team?
So, if surprised by, I'm more surprised Jeanty's not off to a better start, but I still think that's a coaching problem, not a Jeanty problem.
And an O-line problem.
Yeah. So my surprise is disappointment, because I'm disappointed in what Ashton Jeanty's doing. And if you're angry at a running back whose average first contact is -2 yards, then like, you're not a rational human being. Like, he's literally getting tackled as he's getting the handoff. What do you want anyone to do?
Yeah.
And so, on the other hand, I'm very pleased with Helm. I'm very, very pleased with where he's going and what he's doing. And I'm kind of pleasant. Like, I thought Washington would do kind of what he did last year. So I'm pleasantly surprised that Washington is kind of taking another step.
Yeah. I was going to ask you about your disappointment, but you kind of just already got to that. So, all right. Perfect. Well, let's hop into mine then. All right. So, I don't know if you know this, Matt and I really don't have quarterbacks. we we haven't really focused on that. This is probably going to be a point of focus this year. Um, Matt kind of did this year, but that hasn't worked out with Shador. But for me, my team overall, I'm relatively happy. Matt said, you should get 3 starters, and with after year 2, we are basically um, 4 drafts in because you get 2 picks per round. So I actually have currently 12 players that are getting starter snaps, and we're calling starter snaps anybody that gets more than 500 snaps. So that's what we're looking for. Someone that's getting about 30 snaps a game. And then there's a handful that are actual starters. So for me, I've got Alec Ironmaner who's doing pretty well as he's getting his shot to be a starter. He took that job, and he's no longer getting special team snaps, which is great. That means he is, right there. And it's
Is he
his
the
job.
best receiver on the Titans?
I think so far. That's not really necessarily the greatest thing in the world to be the best on the Titans from the receiver standpoint, but I think he's done that. So that one I'm really excited about. I don't know how Cam Scatterboo lasted as far as he did, but I took him in round 2, and I'm really happy I did. He is currently the highest graded running back in football, and he's about to get a lot more play time because of an unfortunate injury. But I'm really excited about that. Taj Brooks hasn't really gotten much go, but he's killing it in special teams world. My favorite, Harold Fannin, his grade is not the greatest. He's only got a 59 PFF grade overall. A lot of that has to do probably, I think, with his blocking, but that's fine. I don't want him to be a blocker. I want him to be a weapon. And he has done just that. He's been getting targets. He's a clear focal point in their offense. And as much as I hate the Browns, him next on opposite of Njoku is going to be such a fun tandem to see. And I really like what I'm seeing there. Ben Urosic was a UDFA that I snagged. He hasn't done that great, but he's getting some play time. Let's see, go down a little further. Christian Mahogany, not having as good of a season as I was hoping, but he's solid. He's doing the right things. He's starting. I have him as a guard, a left guard, and he's doing really, really well. Jared Wilson ended up getting the starting job at left guard for the Patriots, and I'm calling him my center. He's not necessarily performing the best, 52.2 grade according to PFF, but I've watched the games, and I think he is looking better than that grade is saying. So I'm happy there. I've got a handful of guys down here below that don't have any team at all. But if you'll notice, there's not a whole lot of color in this for my offense. So I think offense is definitely an area where I am struggling. But I've got a handful of key pieces, but overall the offense is not great. So we get over here onto my defense, and this is where I'm feeling a little bit better. Gabriel Murphy is not really getting anything, but Abdul Carter, he's been inconsistent, but he is a clear force when he's on the field. His pass rush juice is great. I think he's going to get better as the season goes on. Ezraku, some of his size concerns are showing up at times, but he still has that great bend and that speed and those freakishly long arms, and he's doing a pretty good job. Filling in a little bit since Parsons is gone there. My probably happiest one right now is Byron Murphy, who had a pretty rough first year, and I took him with my very first pick of my very first year. So I was like, uh-oh. He did not play the greatest last year. At times he looked good, but he dealt with some injuries. He looks like a stud this year, and I'm really excited to see that. Peoples is getting a little bit of play, and he's showing that pass rush juice. Hate that it's for the Ravens, but happy that it's happening. The most random one that I picked up as a UDFA, but I was pretty high on him. I had a much higher grade. but I didn't necessarily need the D tackle, is Aiden Huntington for the Browns. Again, I don't know why I keep picking players for the AFC North. It's frustrating me. But Aiden Huntington looks just wild. He's only he's a contributor for me right now. He's getting some snaps, but not a ton. But they've increased each game. And if he keeps playing like this, it's going to be to where he becomes a starter, in my opinion. But not only is he one of the highest graded D tackles, but he's also got 10 snaps on offense as a fullback. So he's just a really fun player that you could see his pass rush ability in college, and it has translated so well. And I mean, is it probably easier on a defensive line with Myles Garrett and Mason Graham? Sure. But I don't care because he's performing. I've got Peyton Wilson, and it's one of those like catch-22 things. Peyton Wilson is performing horribly, which is great because I don't like the Steelers, but also at the same time, I had him as a cornerstone type player for me. He was one of my best graded players last year. Was expecting huge things, and man, he looks like he's lost a step. I don't know if it's just because he's the starter now. It's bad though. Poorly graded. His special teams stud again, I guess, but yeah, that one's really disappointing. Josh Wallace pretty much lost his job for the Rams. Cam Hart injured last week, but he's playing okay. Quinyon Mitchell is having a little bit of a down sophomore slump, but he's still getting tons of snaps. Going to be a key player for me. And then I've got a bunch of players that have gotten like a few snaps. With Nico Reed, has only got one. And then you kept talking about Lathan Ransom, and I was cringing the entire time because he took Damani Richardson's job. Damani Richardson looked really solid at the end of last year, and I was like, sweet, maybe he's going to be able to get the starting job. But again, pedigree matters in the NFL, and Lathan Ransom was drafted higher than Damani Richardson was, and went out and took the job. So is what it is there. So I'm not getting a lot of snaps from him, but the snaps that I am getting are good. Same with my other safety. One of my other safeties, Del Pettis, got a lot of play because of injuries last year. Looked really good when he did it, and then now he's not seen the field. But luckily, Xavier Watts fell into my lap. I had a pretty high grade on Xavier Watts, but because I was so high on Damani Richardson and Del Pettis, I thought they were going to get their chances this year. I was like, I'm not focusing on safety too much. But then come third round, I'm like, well, shoot, Xavier Watts is there. At this point, I just got to take him. And we weren't in the same room, but I'm pretty sure I could, from across a couple cities, could feel the pain in your heart when I took him.
I'm so mad at you. I'm still so mad at you.
Yeah. And I do have some specialists. I picked up as UDFAs both punters for the Saints, and I still have one on my roster, even though he's not on a roster. I was like, well, I'm getting a punter. So I just snagged one of them. And then Austin Brinkman was one of those long snappers, one of the best long snappers in college football last year. He was down at, I think, the Senior Bowl. So I snagged him, and then the Texans cut their starter. So I was like, oh, sweet. So I lucked into that. So I've got 2/3 of my kicking room solidified. Now I just need to get a kicker. And with how bad kicking has been this year, maybe I'll get Ben Sauls will get a chance at some point. But yeah, that pretty much wraps up me. I've got 26 guys that have gotten snaps on either offense or defense, 27 that have gotten special team snaps. Like I said, I've got 12 starters, 3, and then 7 guys that are contributing in some way. I'm relatively happy with my team. Want to definitely see some guys pick things up. But Matt, let's get off this screen now and talk a little bit about what do we think we need. So why don't you go ahead and talk about as we go into this next year of scouting, what positions are you going to be looking at the most?
Well, so w- obviously there are positions I want, and then there are positions I think I'll actually have an opportunity to get. I've been doing mock drafts lately, and I'm just in a really weird spot. But I gotta come out of it. Like Shador Sanders not starting was crippling to my shadow team and my plan going forward. I thought in the draft I got my quarterback, I got my running back, and now I'm good. So it really hurts to go in next year being like I got to get a quarterback because I if you want to call it a whiff, I can't really argue with you, but nobody thought he was gonna, second round was a thing, but nobody had fifth round, and if you got that on your Twitter feed, you want to throw it up, go for it. Like spike the ball if you got it. But most people were like, oh yeah, round 1, 2, like day 3 late, like day 2 latest. So I got to come out of here with a quarterback. So to answer Ryan's question, in my dream draft, I get a quarterback, a wide receiver, an interior line, and a linebacker.
Okay.
So rounds 1 and 2, that would be my dream. I don't know that happens because you don't know how the draft is going to fall out, and I'm trying to be open to, hey, I'm getting a little later, and Tate, who I love, uh, um, Lemon, who I love, they're off the board. Well, I mean, if Mansour's sitting right there, I'll take him. Like I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna hide from it. Ryan and I, as is usual, one of the reasons we made the rule where we can't draft the same guy is we pretty much have the same boards. And as is usual, we're both kind of fighting over Fernando Mendoza. We're there. So for me, it's Mendoza, Mateer, Nussmeyer. Take a really long, hard look at Beck. But if those guys aren't available, then there's a starter out there, and I need to be able, to get that starter. And before I take any of those quarterbacks, and again, like Shador is getting mocked in round 1 everywhere. Maybe round 2. I would not have drafted him if I had known. Now, maybe he gets a shot, maybe he proves himself right, and things work out there. I don't know that will take me out quarterback, but I would love to come out of here quarterback, wide receiver, interior offensive line, and linebacker. That would be my to draft those positions and have those guys come in and start. That would be my dream.
Okay. Yeah, for me, I am kind of in a similar position. I definitely need quarterback. That's my number one priority going into next year, without a doubt. Um, and the reasoning is, we've talked about this, is there's some insane wide receivers coming out in the 2027 draft, and I really, really want to hit on a quarterback this year so I could potentially have a shot at a guy like Williams or Smith, or was it Cam Coleman? I think.
Yeah.
There's all these wide receivers. I want to have a shot at one of those guys. And so if I don't have a quarterback, it's going to be hard to pass up on a quarterback when I need for a wide receiver. Luckily, Io Manor doing well gives me a little bit of hope. So I could potentially wait on wide receiver, but wide receiver is definitely a position of need for me. The two other biggest positions I think are going to be corner and offensive tackle. My offensive tackle that got a lot of starts last year didn't look great in them, Blake Fisher, and then he lost his job this year. And then the other guys I have on the roster are Christian Jones, who's injured, I believe, and then Logan Brown, who's a UDFA for the and he's on the Browns. So I don't really have a lot of outlook there in the tackle room. And in the corner room, if Cam Hart picks it up and plays well the rest of the season, I can maybe feel a little bit better. But then I've got Josh Wallace and Nico Reed are the only other two guys I've got. So I definitely need another one of those guys. I feel like that's like a round 2, round 3 landing spot for me, most likely. Unless the top tackles and wide receivers are gone, I could see myself taking a guy in round 1 if he's there. And then the sneaky one is a linebacker. Linebacker is one of those that, with Peyton Wilson performing as poorly as he has, and none of my other guys getting any snaps on offense or defense. So I've got 5 linebackers on my roster right now. One of them has gotten any snaps, and those snaps have been horrible. So let's talk about some players that we're potentially interested in when we're actually talking about those positions. Like, obviously, Matt and I have very similar views on players. So the quarterbacks I'm not really going to go into again because we don't know who's going to come out. There's a whole lot of quarterbacks that I like that I don't think are going to come out this year. And it's one of those things with us having made that agreement that we can't take the same players. We mentioned that the first time we talked about shadow teams, but for those of you watching that also do shadow teams, if you and your buddy like the same players, you're probably taking the same guy and just having them on your team. But because we've put the rule in place that I can't take the guy that he's got, I'm in a situation where, let's say Matt takes Fernando Mendoza and Nussmeier and maybe Sellers, maybe Mateer have already gone by the time it gets to my pick. And then he also took Mendoza. Even if Mendoza is available, I can't take him. Now I'm at QB5 is my best option. So it definitely makes things a little more challenging for us. But I like it that way. And because since we have very similar views, it makes it to where, like, if the guy that I was high on is performing well on his team, then I'm like, oh, that's a win for me too, because I had him that high as well.
Yeah, like Brad and I both wanted Fannin. We literally fought over Fannin. So it's not like we wanted to have the same kind of. We wanted to have the ability where we maximize all the people we were high on. So there are times when I look at my individual roster and I'm like, oh man, what am I doing? But then when I look at us as two friends, it's nice to be like, yeah, but these guys, there are still guys doing well who we like.
Yeah. So you mentioned wide receiver a little bit. Who are some other guys that you're interested in besides Lemon?
So, for me, it's kind of a 1A, 1B thing with Carnell Tate and Makai Lemon. Look, if Jordan Tyson falls to me, I'll take him. I do like Jordan Tyson. And I would probably take him third because the other guys I really like are not liked by the consensus board. Look, I'm aware of Denzel Boston. I'm undecided on him. So like right now looking at it, but Tyson's not going to make it to my second pick in the first round, but Tate and Lemon are right there. And the Missouri kid whose name escapes me at the moment is someone I really like, but he's way down here somewhere. I don't know why.
Kevin Coleman?
Yeah, I don't know why Kevin Coleman, is way that far down, but he is. So I haven't really dug into all of these guys, but I would love it if Tyson, Tate, or Lemon fall to me, because those would be easy decisions for me with my second pick in the first round.
Yeah, I'm definitely big on Lemon as well and Tate. I'm a little weird with my board right now because I'm trying not to pigeonhole myself until the end of the year. That's something that I'm making a choice to do, which is going to drive me insane at the end of the year when I have to do a whole lot of work to build my board really quickly. But I am still watching players and seeing how they do and take notes on them. But I'm trying not to make a mid-season board at all because I don't want to like lock myself in and like be like, well, I don't want to be wrong, so I'm going to keep them where I had them. And so there's a lot of guys that I really like. You know, Malachi Fields is starting to pick it up from Notre Dame. A guy I've been following in my player updates, if you haven't seen, is Eric McAllister. And Eric McAllister had 3 games worth of stats in one game this past week.
I noticed.
Yeah, which was fun. But there's some other guys like CJ Daniels, Chase Roberts from BYU. There's Chris Brazel, Chris Brazel, I think, from Tennessee. So there's a lot of guys. I feel like for me, my target in round 1 is going to be an offensive tackle. But if the right guy falls there, I could definitely take wide receiver. So I feel like I'm leaning towards wide receiver being a day 2, round 2 type focus for me. But yeah, you mentioned interior line. Who are some interior line guys that you've seen?
So Jake Slaughter has been in a bit of a rough patch, but I truly believe it's a rough patch. He's still my number 1 interior O-line guy. I love, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that name, but the interior O-line guy for Penn State. Those are 2 guys who I'm really high on. And then if I could find a way to just literally draft Iowa's line, I would do that and be okay with it.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
So just kind of, I want to take this opportunity because the top ranked consensus board interior O lineman is Connor Lew. I've heard the name. I hear everyone talking about him. But he's not playing well. And I'm in this weird spot where I'm staring him in the face. I'm like, well, someone kind of draft him, but I am not sold on the young man. Are you going to draft a tackle because he's a tackle going to get drafted, even if you're not exactly high on
him? So for me, there's a good chance that if the consensus is super high on a tackle, I'm gonna lean towards taking that tackle because I feel like offensive line is the hardest thing to get right. It's the thing that I have the hardest time scouting. I've done my research. I've looked up. I've listened to guys like my friend Parker Blake, who I trust as a scout in terms of offensive line. I've done all like the different metrics and stuff, and I don't know. I don't feel like I've done a good job drafting offensive linemen. I've gotten lucky with a couple, but that's something I struggle with. So I am going to lean heavily on the consensus boards, I think, for that this year. Like, just to make sure that I'm going to get a guy that I know has a shot that will get a long run as a starter. He'll get at least a 3-year leash probably.
Well, for me, like I would pass on Connor Lowe, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, and God bless him. I'm happy for him. I'd pass on Parker Brailsford. But if I could get, I think it's Ione, Slaughter, or Piper, who are fringe top 100. Piper's 104 right now. I'd be very happy coming away with one of them because I'm trying to align like consensus with my opinion on them. And I would take Slaughter before Lowe, and I'd be thrilled to get any one of those particular guys. I'll be put in a point of conflict if like Lemon and Tate and Tyson are off the board, and Uyunglele, who's an edge rusher I like, he's off the board, and the only guy like even there is Connor Lew, then I might be like, well, I mean, I got to do something. But I would need a lot of other people to be off the board before I take him.
Okay.
And because I think this is a huge, like very deep interior O-line class, and those guys in the top 100-ish are guys I do like. I do believe I would be happy pulling, and rounds 1, 2, 3 are good spots to get anyone. And so those are the interior linemen I like. You said you were trying to get a corner.
Yeah.
What round are you trying to target, and who are you targeting in that round?
I'm targeting them probably in the first 2-3 rounds. Round 1, I'm looking at Mansour Delane, who's playing great this year. I would like to look at Jermod McCoy if he's able to get back on the field and show that he's healed, because very high on him. Clemson's Avion Terrell is a solid player as well. But then there's a lot of round 2, round 3 guys that I would probably consider that the consensus maybe isn't as high on right now, but I think they will be by the end of the season. D'Angelo Pons from Indiana, I love. Chandler Rivers, I know, is a guy that we both love.
He's a top 100 guy. So
from Duke. I don't see a ton. Like, this feels like the best season ever to need a nickel. There's a whole bunch of nickel cornerbacks, not a ton of outside guys that I'm seeing. There's like Xavier Scott from Illinois. But that's kind of where I'm leaning towards those right now. There's Arizona State, Keith Abney, is that his name?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a guy I really like as well. So those are the main ones that I'm looking at.
I want to give a shout out in that regard. 3 weeks ago, I'm doing my every week I look at each position and I'm like, who's flashing? And 3 weeks ago, I'm looking at Tennessee and I see this kid, Colton Hood. I'm like, huh, okay. And then the next week, I'm like, man, he did it again. And this week and last week, I've been like, dude, Colton Hood, someone pay attention. And I'm screaming. Literally yesterday, I'm like, why is he not on a board? And I'm looking, guess who's officially number 95 on the consensus board?
Nice.
So that Colton Hood, if you're there, I am drafting you, and you keep balling out, young man. You just keep on up. Don't play too good though, because I need you in like round 2, 3. So you can the millions will be there. Like, just ball. Don't worry about like what NFL team you make. You need to make my shadow team.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that I have a hard time, like, not doing is falling in love with certain players. And like, I'm making sure he's on my team. Like, that's why I took Harold Fannin so high last year as a BGSU grad, and I just loved him. He was going to be on my team, and if you forced me to, I was going to take him with my second pick in round 1. I was ready. I was prepared to do it. But another position group we've talked about a lot over the last few days and few weeks is the linebacker position. It's feeling like it's actually a really solid class. Who are some of the guys that you've keyed in on?
So Anthony Hill is on my list of players. Like, hey, I'm liking him. Now, I love Harold Perkins. My worst fear would be passing on Hill, because I'm like, no, I'll get Perkins in round 2, and then Perkins doesn't fall to me. That would be a nightmare. And I'm going to have to think about like what I'm going to do in that scenario. But Hill makes a ton of sense. Perkins is amazing. He's a guy I really love. I'm hearing a lot of good things about Sonny Styles, but his data's not really there. Ryan has been singing the praises of Whit Weeks, and he's consensus 75 right now. And even I take him at that range. And I don't mean that as a slight. I think Weeks has some athletic limitations, and I love Jeremiah Trotter Jr., who I drafted and thought was going to be a starter this year. But then an athletically gifted guy came up and put Trotter right back on the board. So I don't know what I'm supposed to do with that. So and then because linebacker, you're going to get a lot of real quality guys all the way through the draft. And I have to talk about Austin Romaine, and I have to talk about Jake Galladay. Daniel Davis, the linebacker for Maryland. If no one knows who that kid is, someone needs to, first off, the whole team of Maryland. Maryland is going to punch someone in the mouth who doesn't know Maryland's going to punch them in the mouth. And that linebacker is on that list. So those are guys I target, not necessarily all in round 2. My dreams to get Perkins in round 2 and Slaughter in round 2. That would be, if I could manifest that world, I'd be like, well, I might be wrong, but I got what I want. So that's for me. Any other linebackers you like that I missed?
A couple. A guy that I thought you were going to mention but did not, Jacob Rodriguez from Texas Tech.
Yep.
He is playing really, really well. Love what I'm seeing on film for him. He's all over. Like, you just, every time there's a play that's being made, you just feel like he's there. Another guy that has been popping off for Ohio State is Arvell Reese. I'm not sure if he's going to declare this year, but it'd be interesting to see if he does. Those are the main ones that have been sticking out for me, other than the ones that you already mentioned. Whit Weeks for me is just, he feels like that guy that he's going to play for a long time. He's going to be an impactful player for a long time.
Who was that linebacker from Miami? Played forever.
Oh, Zach Thomas.
That's who Whit Weeks is.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Whit Weeks is what I hope my son ends up being. He's an outside linebacker right now. But yeah, so that's really all those the main guys that we're looking at. So yeah, I think we'll wrap it up now. I think going back to our teams a little bit, it's not all terrifying. Our teams are doing all right. We're both not happy with some things and surprised by some things, and but I think we're on the right track, and we're learning as we go how to hopefully make our drafts a little bit better. And so I think that's the key thing, is trying to lean on some data to make sure that we're getting that stuff. We talk about data-driven, film confirmed. That data is very important as well when it comes to making the decisions we make. So I think our next scheduled live is October 7th. On October 7th, our plan is to go over basically everything that's happened in the last 4 weeks of college football. And we're going to make lists from the position groups where we're talking about whether it's our top 5 list or if it's just guys that stood out to us. We're going to give you a whole bunch of names that we're keeping an eye on, and whether or not they're going to declare this year, who knows. We're going to give you a whole bunch of names that we really like based off of different things. Maybe it might be different metrics that we really care about. It might be just a guy we were watching a game and they blew up for us. Our player updates, I think Matt's, yours is going to go tomorrow, right?
It's already set up.
So we've got Matt's player update coming up. And then mine will be the next day. And then we have some hopefully really exciting other things coming up as well. And you'll definitely be seeing those. You got anything for him, Matt?
No, man, we're really excited. And we just hope that you join us. Love to talk to you in the chat. And hope you'll enjoy a lot of the things that we're just kind of quietly looking forward to putting out there.
Yeah, awesome. This is our first time that we went live on my Twitter as well. I think that's where a lot of our viewers are coming from tonight. So Appreciate y'all for tuning in. Like Matt said, we'd love to see you get active in the chat because this is just a bunch of football nerds that want to talk football. So that's really what we want to do. Make sure that you follow us. We have an X account. We have an Instagram that we're starting to put some of the short form stuff from our interviews. And then obviously on YouTube as well. Make sure you like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and catch us back in 2 weeks. See you later.